What if I told you that some of the most iconic Hercules actors weren't just flexing muscles, they were carrying secrets, reputation games, and silent heartbreaks behind the scenes? You think you know the legend, but the myth often masks the human. Today, we walk through the lives of 10 Hercules actors, the legends, the limelight, the scandals, the reinventions, and by the end, you'll see how every flex hides a story. Let's start at the summit, with the man many call the Standard, Steve Reeves. The standard bearer, Steve Reeves. When Hercules, 1958 hit the screen, something changed. Audiences didn't just see a hero, they saw a new ideal. Clean lines, effortless strength, a calm center in the eye of myth. Reeves wasn't the first actor to play a demigod, but he became the baseline. He had won Mr. America, Mr. World, and Mr. Universe titles before ever stepping in front of a camera. At the peak, he claimed a chest measurement of 52 inches, a waist of 29, biceps over 18, and stood 6 feet 1. Yet rumors insisted he was shorter. Some whispered the studios used camera tricks and body doubles to preserve the illusion. Reeves always denied it. He claimed the body was real, the image carefully managed. Behind the scenes, Reeves was notoriously selective. He turned down roles that didn't feel right. One story says producers once asked for unpaid retakes, so Reeves delayed shooting by feigning a trance while clouds drifted over the set, forcing the producer's hand. That's the kind of myth that grows into legend. His relationship with dubbing is also part of the mystique. The films were made in Italy, with actors dubbing voices later. Some critics claimed Reeves' original voice was weak or accented, that his lips didn't always match the voice on screen in English releases. But Reeves countered. He learned the lines, delivered them, and let the foreign crew handle the mixing. He starred as Hercules twice. First in Hercules 1958, and then in Hercules Unchained 1959. His box office impact was massive. Those films precipitated a wave of sword and sandal epics. But Reeves' story doesn't end in myth. As the genre waned, he withdrew. He declined many offers, some that later became big. He built a quiet life, raised horses, kept his health, and died of lymphoma in 2000. No front-page scandal, but a refusal to be commodified. The standard he set has haunted subsequent Hercules actors ever since. The body double who became hero, Alan Steele, Sergio Ciani. Behind most legends sits a shadow, and for Reeves, that shadow was Sergio Ciani, later known by his stage name, Alan Steele. Born in Rome in 1935, Ciani began stunt and body double work before daring to step into his own light. Early in his career, he doubled for Reeves in Hercules Unchained and The Giant of Marathon, later taking minor roles and gradually building toward leads. The shift from double to lead is deceptively fraught. For years, Ciani was invisible, just the man beneath angles and stunts. When he stepped forward, he inherited both opportunity and comparison. Many fans and critics unfairly judged him not on his own strength, but next to Reeves. In the early 1960s, he adopted Alan Steele as his stage persona. He starred in a string of peplum films, The Fury of Hercules, Hercules and the Black Pirates, and others playing Hercules, Samson, Ursus, or hybrid names. He was one of the few native Italians to become a strongman hero in that era. Yet his career arc followed the rise and fall of the genre. As sword and sandal lost vogue in the late 1970s, his roles thinned out. He retired around 1979. He died in his sleep in Settembre of 2015, 2 days shy of his 80th birthday. His legacy is bittersweet. He broke from the shadows and filled the hero's shoes, but he was always measured against the legend. In his films, you see a Hercules less polished but earnest. Perhaps that's the strength he really possessed. The grit-forged hero. Real strength, real cost. Not every Hercules wore a crown. Some looked every bit like working men who lifted stones daily. They accepted the risk, the strain, and sometimes the silent suffering. Among this group were actors and stuntmen, whose screen heroics masked physical toll. They wrestled hardware, fought in heavy armor, performed dangerous stunts without CGI safety nets. These men brought sweat, cracks in bones, and real injuries. Their stories often end in fading health or tragedy. Take Dan Vadas, though not in our list, a figure in the same myth space. He was built like a linebacker, not a statue. His Hercules often felt like someone you might see at a dock lifting crates. Behind his scenes, he battled financial instability, heavy workloads, and later, personal demons. Some sources say he died of an overdose. His legacy is raw, strength matched by fragility. What makes these stories compelling is the contrast. We expect myth to be invulnerable, but their bodies told another story. Every snap of a bone, every bruise hidden under makeup, reminds us that the strong sometimes break. The quiet powerhouses, Reeves Park, others with restraint. Then there were actors whose strength didn't shout. They didn't wrestle bulls with stunts meant for spectacle. They carried power with dignity, calm, and an aura that didn't need to scream. Reeves Park. Reeves Park is a prime example. Before Hercules, he was a bodybuilder who became a model for future champions. His Herculean roles weren't about theatrics, they were quiet statements. Young lifters pinned his photos to walls, not because he was the loudest, but because he seemed real. He embodied balance, in persona and presence. He lifted, held, posed, but rarely barked rage. His Hercules felt less like myth and more like someone who simply moved the world because he could. These quietly powerful actors often avoided scandal. Their strength was their identity, and their public lives aligned more closely with their screen image than those mired in rumor. Reinvention. When Hercules becomes something else. Mark Forrest, Lou Ferrigno, others. Some strongmen didn't want to be boxed in forever. They pushed boundaries, reinvented themselves, changed genres, or walked into danger in unexpected ways. Mark Forrest, born Lou Degny, is a fascinating pivot. He looked like a sculpted statue come to life, light on his feet, bold in action. But he later trained his voice and became a baritone singer, teaching in schools, shifting away from the screen. He walked from one world into another, daring to let the myth fade and letting the man grow. Then there's Lou Ferrigno, who played Hercules in the 1980s. Hercules, 1983 film. He had already wrestled with public identity through his role as the Hulk on television. When he stepped into Hercules, fans expected spectacle, and he delivered. But while the muscle was dramatic, the transition from TV icon to mythic warrior was rough. Some critics panned the movie, saying the plot was weak and the effects cheap. Ferrigno's voice was dubbed in the final cut without his knowledge, one more layer to the actor illusion tension. These reinventions matter because they show ambition beyond muscle. They reveal identity crises, risk, and perhaps a price. How do you stay myth when you want to be human? When legends fade, decline, obscurity, and final acts, the last act is often the quietest. Many of these actors faded as the genre died. The studios stopped making sword and sandals. Audiences moved on. Without new parts, some actors drifted into obscurity. Some died prematurely. Others lived out dusty lives behind closed doors. Alan Steele's decline is typical. After retiring near the end of the 1970s, he faded from public notice until his death in 2015. His last decades are sparsely documented. Reeves, by contrast, refused to be eroded by scandal. He withdrew publicly but never vanished. His death made headlines, but his last years were dignified, not dramatic. For the others, those whose names are more obscure, the records are spotty. Some took smaller films. Some taught or worked fitness. Some just disappeared from film credits. That ambiguity feeds myth even more. What if their final days held a secret we never saw? Legacy, echoes, and who wears the sandals now? The echoes of those Hercules actors ripple into modern cinema. Every actor who trains relentlessly, every physique reel on social media, every audition for a mythic role nods to Reeves, Park, Steele, Forrest, and the rest. Their posture, their training philosophy, their approach to image those things seeped into how modern strong men present themselves. As for who might be the next Hercules, perhaps someone already in your favorite blockbuster, quietly sculpting their body, auditioning in dusty studios, waiting for that call. The ideal candidate would carry muscle, but also humility, presence, mystery. The best Hercules actors weren't just about look at me lift. They carried dualities, image and vulnerability, myth and humanity. If someone today can balance that tension, they'll be the heir not just of muscle, but of legacy. Conclusion. We've walked from the chiseled glory of Reeves through shadows, reinventions, decline, and legacy. The lessons are woven. Strength demands cost. Myth masks pain. Behind every flex lies choice. So, tell me, which Hercules actor surprised you most? Who do you think deserves a second look? Drop your top 3 in the comments, and while you're there, I'll be mapping the most controversial sword and sandal secrets that censors tried to bury next. Until then, keep looking behind the flex.